judges. My name is Melinda Catherine. I'm from Mateo 1. Today, I'm delighted to share with you the most precious experience that has changed my whole life completely. It makes me who I am today. If you met me 5 years ago, this is not who I was. I was a very shy girl. Public speaking was never my thing. Applying for the speech competition would be just a dream. But you never know what God has in store for you. It all started with a science project I had to do when I was in the fourth grade. It was a very normal project that everyone had to do. Me and two of my friends teamed together and started to prepare. Surprisingly, when we presented our project to our teacher, she liked it. She liked it so much that she nominated our group to participate in a provincial science project competition. We were nominated as a school representatives along with another group from P6. It was my first time competing outside the school. In fact, that was my first time competing for anything. And to make it even more challenging, we were the youngest competitors of all. And I did not expect this. While my friends were so excited, I was so nervous. I could not imagine myself speaking in public at all, let alone demonstrate a science project. It was very challenging for me to prepare myself for demonstration for the competition. I even wrote my script in rhymes to make it even more interesting for the judges. I rehearsed every weekend in front of my families and friends to build up my confidence for several months. I'm not going to lie to you. At one point during the preparation, I was so stressed out that I was this close to giving it all up. With support from my family, I managed to pick myself up from the dark place and push through all my fear. At the end of the competition, we got a bronze medal. It was beyond any expectation. We were over the moon. When I look back to what I achieved that day, the medal was not only the reward I have received, but more importantly, I found the confidence that was hidden inside. The confidence that makes me who I am today. So judges, if you're watching my video today for the speech competition this year, please know that this is my dream come true. Thank you for the opportunity. I am proud to be here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tabacha Pativisarud, and today I'd like to share my opinions and experience of being burnt out to all of you. So it started around year 2019, and it started again recently. It started with me getting exhausted all the time. It means needing sleep, but my eating and sleeping schedule are so messed up. And I also lack any motivation. And one day, my sister came up to me on my room, and she said, "Hey sis, you're starting to act more like a sickly vampire." And I quote, this is exactly what she said, "a sickly vampire." I felt that funny at the time, but I started to rethink it, and then I realized that there are some things that's wrong with me. First, I really am acting more like a sickly vampire. I kept myself in a dark room because I don't like light. I eat less, I sleep less, I get circles under my eyes, and I can't seem to do anything I want to. And also, secondly, that something is wrong about my health and well-being that I've never felt and acted this way before. And later that day, terrifyingly, I found an article in social media as I was scrolling through. It's an article about being burnt out. So from the article, it said, being burnt out is a state of exhaustion caused mainly by stress. And let me change your perspective here a little for someone who thought that way too. When I bring the topic of being stressed to adults or sometimes friends my age, they say that you're too young to get stressed, get depressed, or be exhausted, which I think is wrong for me. People can get and of any age can get stressed, can feel unhappy, and they can feel tired. So next time someone brings this up to you, please don't tell them that they're too young, because that would just be shutting them out. And the next time they're not going to open up to you again. And I don't want that, and I'm sure no one wants that. Back to the topic. I'm here to tell you how to cope with it, and secondly, how to comfort people who are going through it. There are two things you need to know in coping with this, and I learned from experience. I learned a little too late, and it felt terrible just going through that state. The first thing you need to know is being burned out isn't slacking off or being lazy. I was weighed down by that guilt that I just wasn't trying enough. But it's actually enough, and that your body and mind are telling you that you need to stop. And what you have to do is take a rest. Just rest all you want, take a break until you feel better. And secondly, you should, this is not a need, it's a should, that you should tell your parents, your family, your friends, not everyone, just the ones that you feel that understand. Tell them the situation you're going through. Venting helps. And the last thing you need to know is that you don't know how long this state is going to carry you. It might take place from weeks to months to even years. And all you have to do is just take a break and don't sweat it that much. I'm sure if you tell other people, they're going to understand. And lastly, if there's a person who's close to you having these symptoms, you just need to listen to them. And if they don't want to talk about it, just be there for them. That's all I want to say. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.
สวัสดีค่ะ Hello, my name is พันพฤกษาภาวรวิทย์ from มัธยม 1/1. How much water is in there? It would be about 200 milliliters. If I hold this for a minute, the weight of the water would still be the same. And if I hold this for 1 day, the weight of the water would still be the same, but my hand would start to feel numb and paralyzed. The solution is to simply put it down. And it's just like in life. Simply let go of things that have negative effects on you. And this is exactly what my story is going to tell you. Once, there was a little girl. One day, when she went to school, everyone was acting weird towards her, and no one wanted to talk to her. And people were giving her weird stares, and she started to feel lonely and worthless. And her solution to the problem was to simply pretend to be sick so that she didn't have to see or meet anyone. And this continued on for weeks, and she began to think of a not so good solution. She didn't want to be here anymore. She didn't want to face anyone or anything anymore. Some nights, she would sit on the balcony, wondering if she jumped, would the pain all end? But luckily, her parents started to notice this, and they began asking her what happened and why she was acting like this. And when she started to talk about it, her parents started giving her advice, like not to care about what they say and just let go of the things that are simply not true. And she started to feel better. It was like she wasn't alone anymore. And now she knew how to put the glass down, and it was easier for her to face hard times. And talking to someone who understands or tries to understand you really does help with this kind of situation. And in our school, we are very lucky that we have an amazing school guidance counselor that are willing to guide us through hard times like this. And for the bullies out there, or just people who think of bullying, please just stop. Not everyone can put the glass down, and it can be hard breaking when they can. So please, just stop. No one deserves to feel worthless. Thank you for listening to my speech. And thank you, Mom and Dad, for always being there for me, even in the hard times. And for the people who are facing this situation, don't listen to the bullies and just put the glass down. Thank you.
According to Zippia, which is a data gathering organization, 22.9% of professional soccer players are women and 72.1% are men. That is a huge gap between the number of female and male soccer players, and you can see this difference in everyday life. At my old school, we had co-ed soccer teams, but I was the first girl to become a player. When I told people that I played soccer, they were very surprised. But when my male teammates did, nobody was surprised because it was seen as a normal thing to do. But it made me question, is playing soccer normal for girls? Should I be doing this? The whole situation made me a little disheartened, so I decided I wanted to try and fix it. But first, let me tell you how and why I fell in love with soccer. It all started when my friend and I had an argument about her teasing me. So I went over to my other friend, and he said he was going to play soccer and told me that I could come along if I wanted to. As I watched them play, I decided that I wasn't going to spend my entire break sitting around doing nothing, so I asked if I could join. I was a little nervous, but the moment that I scored my first goal and felt the adrenaline rush mixed with everybody screaming, I knew that soccer was the sport for me. As I practiced and built up valuable soccer skills, I tried out for the soccer team at school and became a striker. However, there were a few instances where I felt like I was out of place or unwelcomed. And for example, when we played with older grades, I noticed that they wouldn't pass me the ball, even though I was in a place where nobody could tackle me and I was closest to the goal. Sometimes they would tease me and tell me to go do more girly things. But after a few months, they had gotten used to my presence and we all had become familiar with each other. Finally, they accepted me. In the end, I am glad I didn't take anybody's reaction or comments personally, because if I did, I wouldn't be doing what I enjoyed. There are so many different gender stereotypes that limit us, force us to hide our interests in fear of getting shamed or made fun of. In my case, I had a great group of people encouraging me, but I couldn't help but think of all the other kids who weren't as lucky as me and who probably never got to explore what they found happiness in. If we can keep an open mind and get rid of unconscious biases, perhaps we can bridge the gap between the statistics. And instead of it being 70% male and 20% female, let us work for it to become at least near 50-50. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pargini Manhimend. I'm currently studying in Madhyam 2, and here's my speech competition. Have you ever tried something new and thought to yourself, oh, I hate this, and it hadn't even been like a day? Don't worry, because me too. I understand how difficult it can be to learn something new or to be in a new environment. I still remember my first year of learning English like it was yesterday. I didn't want to learn or go. But my mother kept pushing me and telling me it was good for me. I soon agreed because I knew it was an important skill for me to learn. I knew it would help me with my life, allow me to communicate with many more people, and give me access to a larger part of the world. However, what I didn't realize was that with learning English, it would also make me more confident and teach me a valuable lesson. Let me take you back to when I was a little girl of 5 years old and my first class began. I was a shy little kid when I was younger. Trying new things always made me nervous and scared, and this was no exception. When I got there, standing behind my mom, an egg started deep in my stomach. I felt like this was the scariest thing ever. My eyes welled up with tears and I couldn't stop. Then everyone stared at me, and I had the worst negative impression of that place and English. And you might think, well, it couldn't be that bad, can it? No, because I cried every single time I stepped into that place, from the first class to the last, for a full whole year. Now that I think about it, I'm not sure it was so bad that little me needed to cry every single time. I can imagine being my mother and having me cry every time I went there. It might have been hard for her. Fortunately for me, my mother is a very determined person, and she knew this place would be very beneficial for me. So she did not let my childish emotions prevent me from learning there. After about a year of learning, I finally opened my heart to accept it, and I realized there wasn't anything bad about the place at all. One day while I was crying, I asked my teacher, "Am I a good girl?" And she said I would be once I stopped crying. And in the next class, I didn't cry at all. My teacher said she was so proud of me. And of course, I didn't remember this part. But knowing myself, validation from other people means a lot to me, so I suppose that would make sense. However, I do remember this. Once I stopped crying, I realized there was no reason to cry at all. I'm thankful my mother did not listen to me and allow me to quit, because that place is so special for me today. I enjoy a lot of fun activities there, and it has helped me grow so much. It's given me a lot of confidence as a person as well. Today, I've graduated from the program about 6 months ago, and the 7 to 8 years I spent there not only helped me improve my English, but it was also full of amazing memories and friendship. Now you may be wondering, wow, what is this amazing place? This is an English learning school called Wisket. But before you go any further, I must inform you that it is sadly now closed due to the COVID pandemic. And while I'm very sad to see it go, I'm grateful for all the wonderful memories I made while studying there. I remember telling my mom about it not long ago when she said, "Well, I guess we'll never truly know what we can do or even what we love until we fully open our hearts and try." I think that's an amazing thing to say and perfectly sums up this story. I hope you enjoy this story and will keep in mind the next time you try something new. Try fully opening your heart before deciding you don't like it. Who knows, you might even fall in love with it. Thank you so much for listening.
Hi, my name is Ganshok Kantanapon, and my life, it's kind of crazy. I once read an article about the purpose of volunteering, and in the article, the author talked about how meaningful they felt after volunteering. And I didn't quite understand how one could feel so much from the experience until I had the chance to undertake some voluntary work with my friends at the Mirror Foundation. The Mirror Foundation is a private organization that relies solely on donations. With no help from the government, they depend on voluntary workers and donors to help them keep the foundation running. I'm not going to lie, when I first got there, I was a bit scared of the place. It wasn't like what I imagined in my head, and it wasn't even close to what I saw in the pictures on their website. But I didn't let my first impressions of the place cloud my judgment. I kept an open mind, and I thank myself for that. While there, I got to work with so many incredible charity workers. Some of them were social workers who were fully committed to the organization. Some were homeless, and there were some with a disability. The organization takes care of and gives these people an opportunity to earn some money. I spent about 7 hours welcoming donors and helping them sort through things people donated. My friends and I spent half the day helping them sort through mountains of clothes, and there was no air conditioning. So by 11:30, I was covered in sweat and I was tired. But after seeing how much we were able to help them, it was worth every single drop of sweat. But still, in the back of my head, I wanted to just quit and go home. But after a bit of a break and encouragement from my friends, my energy was restored. My friends and I spent the next few hours welcoming donors and helping them move their items from their car so we could separate them into categories. It might not seem like a hard work because honestly, how many donors could there be in a day? But the numbers of cars that came in within the span of 4 hours surprised me. There was no time for breaks because people were coming in and out all the time. It was relentless. It was exhausting. but fun. A TikTok sound immediately popped up in my head. The woman was too stunned to speak. And that is me. I'm the woman. And I had fun, even though it was more exhausting than the morning task. It was also worth it. The lessons I've learned from this experience, whether it's about myself, my friends, or the work itself, I'll cherish for a long time. And if I had to describe each one, my speech wouldn't end today. So I picked 2 out to share with you. One is that we shouldn't judge anything or anyone by their look. Or as cliche as it sounds, we shouldn't judge a book by its cover. The second is that every kind of contribution matters, even if it's the smallest thing. Everything and everyone are worth something. Thank you.
A love letter to my melancholy. Dear melancholy, dear Melly, you were there with me since I took my first breath in this world. You were within me, like we coexisted. Anxiety, anger, grief, fear, and other possible forms of you is what transformed my life into a colorful canvas. You've done so much for me, polished me to see this world as a blessing, taught me how to long for someone, and most importantly, you helped me drive procrastination out of me by sending me those anxieties whenever the deadline was near. You taught me so many things, but I didn't return you the favor. I treasured all the euphoric feelings and positivity while I should have been admiring your beauty. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have realized how precious all these emotions were. So allow me to walk you through our story and recall our precious moments. Flashback. A small and timid 3-year-old girl walked behind her mother, firmly grabbing onto her shirt with her small hands, entering the classroom determined yet pressured to introduce herself in front of nearly 20 other tiny beings. Step by step, she walked out from her mother's shadow, with her watering eyes saying, hello? And with that little voice did I finally greet my classmates. Oh yes, I said it, shouted my inner voice. Everyone, all my classmates stood up to welcome me, and that was when I realized the satisfaction of accomplishing things I am afraid of. I am 6 years old. My parents took me abroad for the first time to visit my relatives in Japan. But who would have thought that my mother's main purpose there was to meet her friends? Shivering in the cold, dry air of this beautiful city, Tokyo, I held my mother's hand as she led me to where her friend was. Just a few steps later, I look up to see this pretty girl around my age with long, straight hair and just slightly taller than me. She looked perfect in her floral flared dress. She approached me as she casually started a conversation. And in no time, we were best friends. But before we knew it, it was time to depart. It felt as if there was a big black hole in my chest. And then I learned what lonesome feels like. I am 10 years old, overflowing with confidence and arrogance. Having done a short test, the teacher was about to hand back the results. Moment of truth, I thought. My friend and I simultaneously flipped the test paper to see that number written on the top right corner. To tell you the truth, I cannot remember the exact number, but what I can remember is that she got more than me, and I hated it. I stopped talking to her, but as time went by, things got awkward and we just couldn't stand it. So I wrote a letter apologizing, and she too left me a letter on my desk. We were back together again. That year, I learned and somehow got a hunch of how impure jealousy and guilt were. Since then, I would try to avoid these two emotions at all costs. I am 16 years old, going through the year where teens hit their milestone of emotional development, going through the ups and downs while trying to maintain the responsibility in every little assignment. Regardless of the effort, Melly, you managed to engulf me, appear in front of me without any notice, as if you missed me hard. This emotion, this feeling is really hard to describe. It's something like depression, leaving an impression of a dark, gloomy substance every time you light up in my chest, whether large or small. This year, I learned how to accept and deal with you. Know that you are a blessing in disguise. There are things that you can't just learn with the positivity. So thank you for being there, supporting me, letting me know the value of different aspects of life. I was able to make the good times even more meaningful because you were there. And life is just not fun without you. So I want you to be with me for the rest of my life. With love, Amy.
Hello, my name is Nasini Rawipong and this is my speech. Are you the type of person that is afraid of competition or being in front of other people? I am. In fact, I would like to show my talent, but it is difficult to perform it in front of other people. It's because I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm not good enough. I'm afraid I will make a mistake. I'm afraid it will be funny in the eyes of other people. This has been in my mind since I was a child. Are you wondering why I'm here if I'm that kind of person? What changed me happened just last year. In 2020, my teacher asked me if I want to attend the upcoming dance competition. I had a hard time deciding whether I should try or not. At that time, I thought that it should be my last year doing anything I want before solely focusing on applying for university. If it was my last chance to try, why should I ignore it? So I signed up as a contestant for a jazz dance without knowing what would happen on race day. Then the rehearsal began. I had around 4 months to prepare. It sounds like I had a long time to practice, so I should have been able to put on a great show. Trouble was, I hadn't done jazz dance before in my entire life. So, do you think my practice went well? No, not at all. My body was not flexible. My teacher had to send me to 3rd grade ballet class, which has only 9 years old students, and I was 14. Along the way, I could see that my dance was getting better every week, but not yet perfect. Then the big day came. It was the competition day. When I arrived at Aksara Theatre, where the competition was held, I was sent to a waiting room where all contestants in my section would stretch and get warmed up. Everyone has such a wonderful flexibilities. I wonder if they had any bones at all, and their movement was what I had never seen before. My fear was reaching a crescendo. I thought I would do a freak show when I started to dance. However, my name was called. I walked onto the stage. Oh my gosh, I could not escape this situation anymore. I have to do the best I can. If I do a mistake, it will be over and no one will recognize me, because they were strangers. I spoke to myself. Fortunately, when the spotlight shone at me, my fear disappeared. I just performed it even though I know that I could not move as beautifully as other contestants. When the competition was over, I know that I was the worst, but no one laughed at me or looked at me with that feeling. When I look back, I never felt like I had did a wrong decision attending this competition. This competition made me realize that I liked myself better when I was on stage, and I was happy to perform it in front of other people. Many people said that you don't have to care what other people think if you don't do something wrong. I understand that well, but I know it is hard to do. From my experience, I believe that if you're in that hard situation and you can overcome it, you will understand it by yourself. It's not something that other people can teach you, but it will come from yourself, inside yourself. If you're scared of being in front of other people, try to overcome it. You can find a way that is easy on yourself. Like me, you can perform it in front of strangers. I know it is hard to do, but I'm sure you will learn something from it. You will never know until you do it. Thank you.
Hello there. Let me tell you a story of mine. When I was younger, my mom once told me, death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it. One day we're all in his death. Well, you and me, we're all in his death. Indeed, I always believed I'm not scared of dying. But ironically, I'm not ready for it to soon be part of my life either. And neither are you. I'm sure we all have that moment once in our life. A feeling of drowning inside. A sense that, what if tomorrow we're not going to see the sunrise once again? I can guarantee to you that it's insanely tortured. But there's a shed of relief and hope at the same time. But that moment encouraged me to understand that life's too short just to be unhappy. Now, let me bring you back to where it all started. The day that I thought it was my last day. Luckily it was not. That day made me come to realization that I should live my life to the fullest, so I would not regret my choices. I guess the last seconds of our life will lighten every curiosity we have on this earth. It was October 10, 2021, my mom's birthday. I plan on setting up a momentous birthday party in our house. I decided to decorate our house with ornaments, only if I'd realized that it was impossible to do that by myself within 10 minutes. Well, I didn't feel exhausted by the time I finished. The party was enjoyable but controlled. The party itself was already incredible. However, spending time with my family was much more special for me. We were sharing food and drinks, singing happy birthday to the most gorgeous woman I'd ever seen. It was all pleasant and amusing. At least, that was what I thought up until that time. It was when I started to feel something strange. I looked down at my hands. It began to tremble badly. Now my mind was out of place. I could feel sweat drifting off my face, drop after drop. I thought, well, I was just very tired that time, so I decided to sit down, breathe in, take in as much oxygen to my lungs as possible. But due to hyperventilation, it got worse. Not just worse, much worse. Now my body was not in control. I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop my hands from shaking. I couldn't relieve my legs from the pain. My brain started to ache. Memories of the good time began to play inside my head, like odd movies or dream sequence. It was like a signal trying to tell me that this is the last time you're going to remember these memorable memories. You're never going to experience this again. Never. Suddenly my head was empty. I couldn't think of anything. Not a single thing. Except one thing that I could think of is my family faces. I couldn't stand with my legs anymore. I fell instantly. I knew my body broke into pieces, but my soul did not. Luckily, I somehow could see the sunrise once again. It might have been because of me, myself, for fighting through that night. Or I should be thanking my mom for raising this daughter to never learn to give up so easily. Either both, I'm grateful. I should have known that help was essential, and I should not overlook it. I should do what I like, not what other people tell me to. I was never aware of how dying was remarkably close to us all. How lucky I am to be able to sit here and deliver this story to all of you. But at the end of the day, no one can escape death. Not me, not you, no one. But at least what we can do is to do our best before it's too late. Stretch as much time as possible. Do what we love. Because you only live once. Well, that's the end of my story.
Hi, I'm Tanya, also known as the laziest person in my family. All of my relatives are very successful. They entered famous universities, they supervise big businesses, so I should feel extremely pressured, right? Wrong. I do not care at all. As I grew up, I never finished reading a single book, whether it was fiction or nonfiction. I hate reading books. It was just not fun, you know? I'm from the Gen Z. I grew up in the era where technology was commonly a part of my life, so why bother reading books, you know? It was way more fun playing video games. And one time, I had a big argument with my mom. Yeah, she had tried to insist that I read books for a year. Well, honestly, that did not work too well. And in response to that argument, I tried to burn a book so I did not have to read it. Now you can imagine how much I hated reading books. Sitting alone on a dinner table, I was only 9 years old, and there sat a lighter and a brand new book that my mom just bought me a few days before. And as a bit of a troublemaker at that time, how could I resist such opportunity? Why not? I did not want to read that book anyway, and my mom was so furious. But despite hating books so much when I was younger, something shocking happened to me this year. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I obviously had to study online, so I spent almost 20 hours on my phone a day. And this is a serious issue because no one should spend more than 10 hours on their phone a day. To be honest, I didn't really plan to reduce my phone time until I noticed that I not only started to have short-sightedness, but I also began to have a really bad backache. And I talk about this backache to one of my friends, and she suggests that the location where it hurts indicates that I have an office syndrome, which surprised me because it's rarely occurs to young people. And so because of these painful conditions, I try to change myself. And I tried to find productive activities to do other than playing my phone, and came up with the solution. Reading books. I know it's crazy, but this time I wanted to change myself for good. And I have to truly admit that reading book was awfully difficult at first. I was distracted by literally everything but the book in front of me. It was extremely hard to focus. Plus, I did not know a lot of English words, so I ended up searching for at least 15 words a page, but I did not give up. I don't want to be like my young self anymore. And now, I do not want to call myself an expert, but I would like to admit how much I have developed both my vocabulary and my concentration skills over these past months. And funny story, there was a day that I sat on a couch reading novels for hours, and my mom actually thought I was possessed. Yeah, it was a very hilarious compliment, but at the same time, I felt so grateful and proud of myself. Anyway, I just want you to keep it in mind that everything is possible. Even I, who looked like the last person on earth that would read books, have finished many novels this year. Then, of course, it is possible for everyone to do what you're passionate about. Being able and willing to read lots of books may seem to be a small accomplishment, but for me, this really is a big success because finally, for the first time in the last 15 years, I can overcome my flaws of not reading books. I can actually sit, relax, and enjoy reading. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kirana Janpranpong. I'm currently studying in Mathayom 5 at Mater Dei School. Today, I would like to tell you a story about an experience at my school. I had an opportunity to perform for a music theater named Into the Woods. Back to 2020, undoubtedly everyone was overwhelmed by beautiful sights and sounds of the setting, gorgeous dresses. However, most probably no one was aware of what was going on behind the scenes. So today, I would like to represent all the actors to share with you some of the story I experienced during the show. The story begins with the announcement that there will be a musical production to be arranged this year. After a few years absent, it was the moment that I have been waiting for. Finally, the long-awaited opportunity has arrived. Me and my friend were so excited. Without any hesitation, we went for an audition together. I chose to audition for Red Riding Hood and sang Red Riding Hood's song. I was very confident that I will be selected. On the audition day, there were so many people coming for the audition, far more than I had expected. I did pretty well during the audition as I had practiced extensively. A few days later, the judge called me and asked me to try out as a witch for the final round. I didn't feel very comfortable with the role I was given because I didn't want to be a witch. But since I had no other choices, I auditioned for witch. While I considered that I might have not been chosen, my passion evaporated because I was unable to play the role that I really wanted. On the announcement day, I was chosen to play the witch. I was happy, but I wasn't overjoyed. I made up my mind and said it to myself that I would not give up on the opportunity and pursue my role as the witch. Being able to see the world of backstage was the experience of a lifetime. I encountered so many people during this rehearsal from day one till the last rehearsal day. All of the given characters suit well with each person, and Little Red Riding Hood was adorable and did fit well with the girl that had been selected. During the rehearsal, I had many chances to familiarize myself with other singing and acting teachers, but to be honest, I was not very satisfied with the role I was given as a witch. Until the last minute, I had the chance to talk to Crew Money-Dan. She told me that a good actor should be able to play any role given. It stunned me. I began to realize that I should concentrate and impersonate the role of the witch as much as I could. I told myself that this role was given to me as a gift. Ever since, I took the rehearsal seriously every evening after school. During the final week before the show, we took the promotional pictures and rehearsed with a real orchestra and tried on the costume. While it is important to maintain our health as much as possible, we had to play a total of 7 shows. We were all exhausted. Often, I was so tired that I slept with beauty facial mask still on my face. There was not a single show that came out smooth. From the first show to the last show, there were many unique accidents. Sometimes the actors forgot their lines or their cue. Sometimes the actor could not manage to put on their costume in time. There was also a time when I was supposed to pull Rapunzel's hair after the song ended, but the tip of the wig didn't come off. So I tried again and the whole wig fell off unexpectedly. The light had to be dim immediately. We went backstage together and laughed aloud. It was one of those special memories for me. During the last 2 shows, influenza has started to spread. Almost half of the actors were affected. The actor playing the witch in the first part suddenly pulled out. I had to step in. That morning I had to rush to memorize the lines and lyric, including all blocks, and performed it all by myself. On that day, many were coughing while singing. I concentrated a lot on memorizing every new cue, and I am glad I did because everything ended well in the end. Even though the story starts with disappointment, but I love being a witch, honestly. My friends and my family were so supportive that I remember that on the last show, everyone cried with joy in the lasting bond and found memories we had all made together. Thank you.